Welcome to the Nonprofit Report, your update on nonprofit organizations, issues, and leaders. I'm your host, Mark Oppenheim. Today, we're talking with the team from Bestwork Industries for the Blind with special guests John Katz, President and Chief Executive Officer, Tom Black, Vice President of Products and Business Services, and Alfonso Harrell, Team Lead, Recruiter, and Public Policy Advocate. So, gentlemen, it's great to see you. It's wonderful to have you here and hearing your voices. I'd like to really start off by going to you, John, and just talking a little bit about Bestwork Industries and the work that you do to ensure that people who live with visual impairments find employment and that as a group you're able to actually generate products and services. John?
Yeah, no, thanks, Mark, and we appreciate the opportunity to be with you this afternoon. Simply, Bestwork, we're the largest employer of people who are blind in the state of New Jersey. We were founded in 1981 by Jim Bersaki, who was wounded in combat in World War II. And what started a little over 40 years ago is just a small self-sustaining manufacturing facility with one line of business in a single location has blossomed into a full-service social enterprise with 4 lines of business, 3 satellite locations in addition to Cherry Hill, and a blindness and low vision services center. And our mission is to empower people who are blind or visually impaired by creating employment opportunities, providing training, and offering blindness and low vision services.
So, Tom, I'm going to go to Alfonso first, and I'm going to come back to you when we talk about products. But Alfonso, talk a little bit about the community that surrounds this organization and how people come to the organization, because obviously you have to first know about it. You have to have a discussion. You have to go through this process of intake and then becoming part of Bestworks. So could you talk a little bit about how people connect?
The blind community is like a family. I grew up blind my whole life, so I know so many blind and visually impaired individuals throughout my life. So how I came to Bestwork was somebody who used to work here, and I knew about Bestwork for a few years. And he would always tell me about, hey, it's, there's other people that's there that's blind, and he would tell me what they were doing, and I just couldn't believe it. So one day I finally came, and the rest was history. So a lot of it was from word of mouth. When I first came in, it was just, about who you know. And that's how it was. And the goal now is just to do things like this where people can find these things and find out how to get in touch with Bestwork, right? And do outreach events, go to job fairs. The Commission for the Blind has services that, we try to get in touch with those counselors. Anything where anybody can find a job that somebody who's blind is looking for a job, we're trying to get it to as many places that somebody can see the most. But like I said, we're a big family, so a lot of us speak. So word of mouth is a pretty big thing, and I think that that's how a lot of people actually ended up being here from the beginning.
Now, there's a lot of talk nowadays about assistive technologies, AI, and so on and so forth. What you seem to be saying, Alfonso, is that there's an element here, like in any workplace, that really is about community. It's about the person-to-person contact.
No, I was saying yes, for sure. Like the blind community, a lot of us, we probably grew up with each other from children. So there's few people here that I probably met when I was 10 years old. So the big community part of it is a lot.
Tom, when you think about the community as a business asset, right, that has got to loom very large, right? It's that whole idea of people connecting through other people. You have got to be recruiting your folks and getting your ideas from the people who know, right? I mean, this isn't like a centrally top-down kind of a thing, I would imagine.
Yeah, you're right. We get a lot of folks in here. Once they're in this community, we get a lot of word of mouth and everything, like Alfonso was saying. So it becomes, and then the longevity that people stay here is incredible. We got folks that have been here over 25 years because they're working with other people like them and everything. So to answer your question, yeah, it's very, very strong here in that type of environment.
It seems to almost harken back, John, to an earlier time in American work history where people came together to work and there was some sort of a relationship. It wasn't all transactional. It was a relationship between the company, the organization, its workers, right? Its communities served, the actual people who buy the products. I mean, you do a lot of military contracts, and your heritage comes out of a military veteran who created this organization. Talk a little bit about how you see the idea of work, because it seems to me in the American economy right now, in the world economy, everybody seems to be not irreplaceable, but replaceable. Everything's transaction. People don't count, right? But in your environment, people absolutely do count.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Alfonso hit the nail on the head earlier. You know, we're a family, and, you know, the business we do is all about relationships. You know, the relationships that, Tom and Bestwork have with, our federal customers who know us. They know what our employment population is. But, more importantly, they don't see us as a charity. They see us as a defense contractor that's providing quality products at a competitive price. We just so happen to have, a special population who really, is committed to their work. For many of them, this is their sense of service to the country. They know who the end customer is. And, so for them to be able to not only have the dignity of work and have a sense of purpose every day, they're having a sense of service to their country. So it's all tied together, our relationship with the government, our relationship with our people. It forms a strong culture, and it's made us an integral part of the defense industrial base in terms of textile production. We were deemed essential during COVID and not allowed to close because of the products that we were required to provide to the military during that time.
So let's talk a little bit, Tom, about the range of products and services. Could you just sort of outline that for us?
Sure. We have 4 major lines of businesses here: textile apparel, e-commerce, document scanning and digital imaging, and kitting, packaging, and light assembly. Through those 4 major lines of businesses, we produce many items for the federal government, as John mentioned. So think about it. We're the only producer of the Navy fleece jacket for the United States Navy. That's very important because that's what we call a bag item. That's an issue item that they get when they're going through recruit training and everything like that. We're the only company that's doing that. The Coast Guard, we do the Coast Guard fleece. We do the Army T-shirt for the Army. We do the Coast Guard T-shirt for the training center right here up in Cape May. We do the Navy running pants. We do the Air Force running pants. We do the flight deck jerseys, and the list goes on, right? And it's all done by people that are blind and visually impaired. So folks have a hard time wrapping their arms around that sometimes. So we really like to bring people in here to actually see it. Saying might not be the greatest saying in our line of business, but seeing is believing. And people coming in here and seeing these blind and visually impaired people making those types of products to military specs, which are very stringent, I must tell you, being done by our employees. It's amazing.
Talk about the workflows a little bit, and Alfonso, jump in as well, because you're going to be, as a recruiter, you're going to be describing those workflows, right, to others. So talk a little bit about things like how the workflow functions when you have blind and visually impaired people on the line, how quality assurance works, because as you said, right, you cannot afford to produce shoddy, right?
Well, we set up, so the lines are set up by our engineers and line leads. And, it all starts with training initially. You got to have a good training program. So when we onboard the people that Alfonso or whoever brings into us and everything, they go through a rigorous training program. And through that program, we make guides and jigs to kind of help the blind employees be able to make the garments that they're making, right? So they can put it up a little jig and they know to push it through the sewing machine and everything. They can feel when they got to stop it and stuff like that. So that's what helps them be able to make the products to the spec. And of course, through each step of the process, we have quality assurance people on our staff that go through the lines to make sure that everything's coming out right. So even if they got to stop midway and measure to make sure we got enough stitches, per the inch that they ask us to have them in, or to make sure that the left and right side, the colors of them are matching and everything like that. The zippers will actually, open and close and stuff. So we have a QA process all through the steps as we're manufacturing these items.
So I actually was on the line. So I was a product of being able to get a chance to have upward mobility in this company. So I started out on the sewing line, and like Tom was saying, one, I would say, like, a lot of us, one, we take pride in it, right? Like John was saying, like, I'm blind, so I couldn't be in the military, but I do, to come to work and that you're doing something as that has a higher purpose, especially for your country. That means a lot to a lot of us. So we take this job very seriously. So when you come in, training top notch. Like, before you come out that training room, and this I tell a lot of people, with like they were saying, like, sometimes individuals might be like, this is crazy. How are these blind people doing this? And it's something that you do have to see. And me being blind myself, I was very scared and hesitant to even try. I'm like, this is impossible. But coming out of training, with the tools that they did give me, like, you have like something that helps you get the needle, get the thread through the needle. Something like a guard on the machine to make sure you're not hurting yourself when you sewing. I used to have like a strip of something as simple as a strip of bright tape where I could, put my fabric on and I know where to start. And when I see that tape again, I knew when to stop. A guide, or that's guiding me. That's on the machine where as I'm sewing, is making sure that I'm staying within the boundaries of the specs that needs to be sold. So a lot of those things come out. But yeah, coming out of training, a lot of the people, once you hit that floor, you have to know what you're doing before you're out there.
It strikes me that the industrial design here, John, needs to be quite sophisticated because you're dealing with a pretty significant workflow through a restricted space, and you have to really think through in a way that cannot take that much for granted. How do you create a team, or do you bring people in from the outside to do the industrial design that you need in terms of setting up the shop floors, making sure everybody's protected, and so on? I mean, people go on breaks, right? You're in the middle of a workday, and I'm sure you do shifts, and you have people replace and so on. How do you actually do that? Or do you carry all that expertise within Bestwork itself?
No, it takes a village, so to speak, right? We do get support from engineers, from National Industries Supply and outside to help us with our line setups. Of course, the design for all of the uniforms that we produce. Those are all done in separate, military systems facilities to create those items. In some cases, we'll run, the first article testing or, first production prototype runs here so that they can see them. But, once the product is, established by the government and we get engineers out here to set up the line, we're fortunate that we just have, some very experienced people who have, been born and raised, if you will, in this industry, who can then help, continue to set up the lines, put the right people in the right seats, to get the work done. So it's a full-on team effort. And not just within Bestwork, but with, our partners as well.
Do you also develop new products, all where it's not an order that comes in from the federal government or from the armed services, but instead you're looking at new products, new services that have not necessarily come to you based in the demand of one of your existing clients, but you're going to test something and then go out and find a market for it. Do you do any of that?
Not so much. Not in commercial textile production. We, if an opportunity produces itself for for a commercial opportunity, we certainly take it, but we're not out actively doing R&D in the commercial space.
Do you have a sales force?
We do. Yeah, we have a sales force that operates a little bit differently than your traditional sales force. For textiles, it's really just staying in front of the government customer in terms of the capabilities we have and what we can do. That's actually how Tom's been able to grow our business over the last 4 years, is when there's a shortfall or a shortcoming somewhere else in the industrial base, it's his ability to let the government customer know our capabilities has brought more work to us. But he talked about before, creating other lines of business. We do have boots on the ground, people out there trying to find, preferred business partners for our e-commerce program and for our document scanning and digital imaging business, which we're trying to grow.
It just seems to be so, it seems to be such a departure going back to long-term employees, right? This whole idea of community, the whole idea of taking care of people. It seems like, to me at least, you're really a model, not just for the blindness community, it's for the sighted community, it's for all of us in terms of how such a business can run. Just sort of exiting this, if we can go around the table, starting with Alfonso, Tom, and then ending up with John. As you look into the future, how do you see the organization developing over the next 5 to 10 years, Alfonso?
I just see us can still continue to grow. I'm really big on the satellites and putting Bestwork in other places across the state to give more people an opportunity who just can't make it to Cherry Hill. And I think that has been growing, and I think that's going to continue to keep growing. So I don't know, maybe in 5 years we have a few more Bestworks all over the state, and anybody who's looking for a job is visually impaired anywhere in the state probably have a place where they may be able to have an opportunity to work. So that'll be a big goal of mine, and just helping people as far as transportation goes to get to those places. That is a big goal of mine that I see. And for myself, I hope to still be there 5 years from now doing whatever the job tells. So, we're here.
Logistics is such an important issue, right, Tom? I see you nodding that about logistics is like product logistics, but also people logistics, getting people to where you need them to be.
Right. And you got to be where the people are too. So that is part of the logistics, right? And that's part of our expansion into these satellite locations that Alfonso and I think John mentioned a little bit. The future for us, I see us getting into more services stuff, because we talked a lot about textile manufacturing. Not everybody wants to sew. John mentioned our document scanning and digital imaging services. Now, going from sewing into something like that gives our employees an opportunity to say, wow, there is growth here within the organization. I can come from a manufacturer right into a service provider and stuff. So my thought is we'll see some growth in the services side of the house, on the services side of the house, as well as doing more things for people in the community.
And John, you had mentioned before we got on your new Vision Center, BLVSC. So that's part of your expansion plans going forward as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and Tom and Alfonso, really captured the essence of the board just finished the new strategic plan for Bestwork for the next 3 years, fiscal years 26 through 28. And, it's based on 3 pillars, and those pillars are, growth, expansion, and transformation. And for us, growth is, all about employment growth. And as Tom talked about, we have to find the population centers for the people who are blind to offer them employment, because transportation is a huge constraint for them. And so, we know that there are many people who have previously been people are blind who have previously been able to get jobs just because of transportation constraints. We're opening up satellites in various locations so we can, offer employment opportunities. And just within the last, year and a half, we've created over 24 jobs at these satellite locations for people who are blind. So that expansion and growth is going to continue. But at the same time, as any business, we need to grow our business to ensure long-term financial sustainability. We need to make sure that we're around for the long run. So we're looking at the long game in terms of our strategies, our business lines, and growing our business lines. But yeah, to your point, Mark, we're really excited. Bestwork doesn't just want to be another nonprofit in the community that's constantly seeking, support and funds. We wanted to find a way, to become a fabric of the community, a way to give back. And, there's a lot of data out there that'll substantiate that South Jersey, particularly, Camden and Burlington County, are woefully underserved when it comes in terms of, blindness and low vision services, low vision exams, eye screenings, assistive technology centers and access to assistive technology, and, blindness and low vision rehabilitation therapy, orientation, mobility, independent living skills, business skills. There's just not enough here. And so we have partnered with Drexel at Elkins Park to initially get this program off the ground. We've already started with some pilot programs with low vision rehabilitation. We have Accessive Technology Center in the works. And hopefully, we partnered up with several providers here in the near future. And, we have a core of volunteers who have stepped forward to help us do monthly adult vision screenings that we hope to get off the ground. So this is going to be a really critical asset in South Jersey. And as the word gets out, we're starting to see more traction, more interest. Right now, we're in just a big full-on outreach program just to make people aware of it, so we can get the support. But it's going to be a tremendous addition to the community.
And we're happy to be part of that outreach. John Katz, President and CEO, Tom Black, Vice President of Products and Business Services, and Alfonso Harrell, Team Lead Recruiter and Public Policy Advocate for Bestwork Industries for the Blind. Thank you so much for sharing all of your great work with us all. And please thank your board, your funders, your clients, the people who actually produce the products that you provide to us all. And thank you so much for sharing your insights. It's been fabulous.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.